riding buddies. In my last video on Aermacchi, I said that Cagiva deserved its own story. So I'm here to continue the family Aermacchi story with Cagiva. Be sure to check out my video on Aermacchi, as it's like a part one to the overall story. If you have not subscribed to my channel, be sure to do so. It's common knowledge that subscribing to this channel will knock 2 seconds off your lap times. The motorcycle Cagiva story starts after Harley Davidson sold what was the old Aermacchi factory to the Cagiva brothers. The company's story actually goes back to 1950, when the company was manufacturing small metal components. Cagiva had a good start on technology with the purchase of the old Aermacchi / Harley Davidson company. The head start was so good that Cagiva continued using most of the old models, just calling them Cagiva. In 1979, Cagiva produced 40,000 bikes. Not bad for a small Italian company. Over the next few years, development continued on their lineup. The WMX motocrosses were born in this era. I will try to cover the main headlights in the Cagiva story, as there is just so much in their history. In 1983, Cagiva sourced engines in 350 and up to 1000cc from Ducati to enter into the big displacement class. This continued up until 1985, when Cagiva, just not happy with buying engines from Ducati, went out and purchased the company. This purchase started the Cagiva stamp on the motorcycle world. In the early to mid 80s, Cagiva was developing a reputation in Europe as having very fast two-stroke engines. In the US, they were very hard to find at this point still. Their 125s were fast enough to knock Suzuki off their perch in 1985 and take out the World Motocross Championship. In 1986, they proved they weren't a one-hit wonder by taking the championship out again. Cagiva was also making their presence felt in the 250 class. The Cagiva team went on a spending spree in 1987 and purchased Moto Morini, also arguably the biggest name in the off-road world, Husqvarna. The Swedish plant kept building the enduro bikes for a few years, but the motocrosses were being built in the old Aermacchi factory in Italy. The Husqvarna takeover put the Husqvarna brand into planning. However, I'm not going into that in this video, but let me know in the comments if you'd like a video done on one side of it. So as you can see, the Cagiva story just keeps snowballing. And we're only in the 80s. In 1988, Cagiva moved their main competition focus from motocross to the 500 GPs. The development of the beautiful 500 GP machine continued up to 1994. The final legendary model, called the C594, was a fuel-injected V4 two-stroke animal. Through their 500 GP career, there was some impressive results, including a third overall in 1994. However, unfortunately, 1994 was their final year due to substantial financial problems. More purchases by Cagiva in 1990 was the Mini Moke design, which were built in Portugal until 1993. The plan was to move the manufacturing to Italy and restart production in 1995. However, unfortunately, the financial problems, it just never eventuated. Cagiva also purchased the name MV Agusta in 1991. Taking over a legendary name like MV comes huge responsibility, and unfortunately, the spending spree by Cagiva factory took its toll. In 1996, Ducati was sold along with Moto Morini. A reset in 1999 saw MV Agusta become the main brand, with Cagiva and Husqvarna under this historic name. During the 90s, there were some legendary bikes from the Italian manufacturer. The Elephant, an adventure bike, won 2 Dakar rallies, and the Mito was a hit with young GP wannabes. There were some great enduro and motocross bikes under the Husqvarna name, and Husqvarna was the first 4-stroke to win the 500 MXGP in 1993 since 1965. Ducati was having success in superbikes, and even the most beautiful road bike to ever grace the earth was born in this time, the Ducati 916. My wife agrees with me on this one. The 2000s were crazy with change. Proton, yes, the car manufacturer, bought the MV, Cagiva and Husqvarna company in 2004. After a long-standing ownership of 1 year, Proton sold it all again to Gevi. This investment group did an internal restructure and sold Husqvarna to BMW, and then steps in Harley Davidson to purchase MV Agusta in 2008. This time around, the motocross market wasn't on the Harley radar and didn't last long. Claudio Castiglione, who is one of the first brothers originally creating the Cagiva motorcycle brand, bought MV and Cagiva back in 2009. Sadly, Cagiva name vanished in 2012 when the Mito was discontinued. This was the end of the Cagiva. However, of course, the MV continued with more dramas, but today it is a formidable brand in its own right. In a way, that's the end of Cagiva, but in a way, it's not. Of course, there is the Husqvarna side as well. However, I won't go into that in too much depth with this story, but BMW also sold Husqvarna to KTM in 2013. This was all production gone from Italy, and what we all thought was the end of what started out as Aermacchi in 1951. No, SWM was born out of the ashes, with the first models using this legendary name that had been missing from the off-road scene since 1984 was the last Husqvarnas, just rebranded. SWM is still building their own bike in the same factory where Aermacchi started all those years ago. I don't think any other motorcycle manufacturer has so many twists and turns. Harley Davidson may, but I'm not going to entertain that thought at the moment because my head hurts enough just thinking of Aermacchi, Harley Davidson, Cagiva, Ducati, Moto Morini, Husqvarna, Mini Moke, MV Agusta, Proton, Gevi, BMW, Harley again, then back to Claudio to continue the MV Agusta and SWM to move into the old Aermacchi factory. I have no doubt that there are twists I have missed, and I'm sure there are so many side steps to this that I have missed as well. I would love to hear some of the bits I missed, but for now, that's enough for my tiny brain to handle. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you've not watched my video on Aermacchi already, be sure to check it out as it's a lead into this one. I reckon you would enjoy the video that's also appeared on the bottom of your screen as well. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.